Thursday, everyone. We got some late week strength coming up your way. It's gonna have some fun stuff today. So we're gonna do a different format. We're gonna explore some different things today. Still working with that 3-second eccentric, but we're gonna have some fun with it and keep it fresh and keep it moving. So to get us there, we have a few things. We're gonna work on a dynamic triangle for 3 to 5 reps. Windmill for 3 per side. Plank to down dog for 3 to 5 reps. And a knee plank with hamstring curl. And I'm gonna walk you through that process as we get going, 10 to 30 seconds. So it really depends on a few key factors in that movement or how long you hold that position. You'll hit that for 1 to 2 rounds. That's kind of like a nice prelim kind of warm up. After that, we have an overhead good morning for 5 reps. Sumo squat for 3 at 313. Air squat for 3 at a 313. Narrow squat for 3 at a 313. And a wall sit for 30 to 45 seconds. And you're going to hit that as well for 1 to 2 rounds. Really warming that up, getting a good feel for that positioning, and then we're going to tackle our work set. Our work set today is going to be 4 to 6 rounds, so it depends on how much time you have, volume you would like to kind of experience in the day, and take it from there. All right, but we have 4 to 6 rounds. Dumbbell squat can be a front squat, can be a goblet squat, whatever you'd like to do there. You're going to do 60 seconds of movement, max reps. Not for speed though, but we're looking for quality. So you're gonna try and continue to move for 60 seconds with a 3-second eccentric. So that 3-second lower stand. You're just gonna try and keep moving for 60 seconds. Then you'll have 30 seconds of rest, and we're gonna move into a dumbbell bent row for another 60 seconds, but you're gonna do 30 seconds per side, working on that single arm bent row. 30 more seconds of rest. Then you're going to move into that lower body again, dumbbell elevated lunge for 60 seconds, 30 seconds per side. Again, working on that 3-second eccentric. And that can be an elevated lunge, that can be an empty-handed lunge, that could be no elevation. Depending on where your strengths lie with the lunge, pick the lunge that's going to help further your abilities along the best. 30-second rest, we're going to lay on the floor to finish off the round. Dumbbell pullover. 60 seconds at a 3-second eccentric, then you get 30 seconds to get back to the top and work that squat again. So you're going to be doing lower, upper, and then you're going to get a little rest and repeat. So it's going to be a good day of strength, lots of fun stuff. In terms of loading for this, you can use different loads if you have access to that for each movement if you like, or you can definitely get away with using the same load if you have a lighter load for everything. You'll end up doing a little bit more reps for your squat. So you're going to get more volume to make up for the lack of loading. So let's get you warmed up, ready to go. First things first, you guys, let's warm our bodies up a little bit. Let's take the arms up big and tall up overhead. We're going to stretch it over to one side. Just really work on that side body. Stretch it to the other side. We'll come back through and scratch our back and reach through the elbow. We'll take the arms up, scratch your back. Reach through the elbow. Good. Come back up. We're going to take it all the way to the floor. Touch those toes. We'll walk up the shins. Nice forward fold. We'll frame the butt. Step it back into our lizard. Inside hand is going to lock those legs in place. We're going to turn our torso to the outside hand. We're going to come back to center and lower the back knee and press the hip. We're going to come back to center, straighten the leg, and turn. From here, we'll come back through, lower, and press the hip, back through center, straighten, and turn. Good. Planting that hand, we'll step back into our down dog. Reaching those hips up nice and high, just press the heel, holding for a couple seconds. You're going to press the other heel down, holding for a couple seconds. We'll come back to center, into that plank. We'll step that other foot up. Inside hand's going to lock that foot in place. We'll turn our torso. Come back through, lower. Press the hip, we'll come back through, straighten the leg, turn, back to center, lower the knee, press the hip, come back to center, straighten the leg, turn, back to center, lower, and press the hip. Back to center, we'll straighten out that leg, plant the hands, step back into your down dog, reaching those hips. This time we're going to set the shoulders, just walk our heels out, one at a time. Nice and gentle. Waking up those legs. Waking up those hips. And we'll come back into our plank. Toe those feet all the way up. And roll our body up. Big stretch. Big reach. Big reach. Oh, come back down with those hands. Let's continue on, slowly warming up our body. We're going to work a little bit more upper body, still a little bit of lower with some rotation. So pause the video if you'd like to take down some gentle warm up for that upper body. Maybe those shoulders are a little bit tired from yesterday's handstand kind of adventure. Cat-cows, thread the needle, scap push-ups, all that good stuff is really going to help, especially for today as well. So pause the video, take that step down if you'd like. If not, come along with me. We're going to start slowly easing the body into a good old work set. All right, we're going to start off with our dynamic triangles. We're going to move into our sumo stance. I'm going to turn a toe and turn a toe on the angle. So we're going to plant our hand on the thigh, take an arm up to the ceiling. So pretending like we're holding a dumbbell overhead, we're going to squeeze and set the hips, pulling that hip into that back heel as we reach that arm up to the ceiling. From here, we'll reach that arm up, setting that position. We'll pull back down again as we maintain that nice solid arm position to the ceiling. So we're always reaching that arm to the sky, regardless of what orientation our body's at. The other side of it, when we transition sides, definitely make sure that we set our feet up properly so we're in a good position and we have that room to explore that hinge, because that hinge is very important in this work set, creating space through the side and through the legs. Once we're done with those dynamic triangles, we're going to take this to a slightly different level, to the windmill. So we're going to get our feet still in that sumo position, toes can be slightly turned out. We're going to take an arm up to the ceiling, pressing that arm still to the sky. Armpit position is your primary focus, so we're keeping that armpit facing forward. As we pull the hip back and rotate low rib, that armpit is still going to point forward, but it is going to change its orientation as I rotate through that low rib. So as I rotate, the armpit's still facing the same direction, it's just pointing the other way because my torso's changing. And that's what we're looking for. We want to make sure that as we rotate, the arm is not moving on its own. It's moving because our torso is moving with it. All right, that's our primary focus through that windmill. Now, if you feel the shoulder starting to move on its own, stop your range of motion, just take it to that range, and then come back up nice and slow. Work to that edge for every round. We're going to bring it together now. Afterwards, we're going to hit our plank to down dog. So we're going to get ourselves set up in that good plank position. Pelvis is tucked under slightly, pressing through those shoulders. We're going to focus on that good shoulder position. Again, as we pull our hip back and up, and then we're going to come back into our plank, pulling those ribs in, pressing through those shoulders, hitting that good plank, and then pulling back up and into that down dog again. So really focusing again on that same shoulder position that we've been working on in that dynamic triangle, in the windmill. We're working on that a different way in that plank to down dog. Just using the floor this time as a tool to maintain that position. Now last but not least, we have our cool little knee plank with hamstring curl. This is a cool little exercise that we're going to work with, but first things first, grab yourself a little towel or something soft that you can squeeze behind your knees. I don't have a towel handy, but I do have a soft, light med ball. So this is just a 4-pound med ball. It's nothing crazy, but it's something I can squeeze into. So you could use a pillow, a slightly roll-up towel, something that you can just squeeze into with those legs. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get this med ball onto my calves, into the back of my leg here. I'm going to get myself into a nice, solid knee plank. So I'm nice and set. My knees aren't together, but they're close. I'm going to pull my ribs in, which is going to tuck my pelvis a little bit. And this is a key factor in this exercise. We're going to keep that pelvis tucked slightly. We're going to keep those shoulders active. We're not trying to round out like a nice handstand position. What we're trying to do, though, is just maintain that little tuck and that good, strong shoulder position. I am going to squeeze that ball with my hamstrings and my heels, but still maintaining that tuck through my ribs. I don't want to turn into this position. I want to stay tucked through that pelvis while still squeezing the ball with my hamstrings. Now, like those bridge pullbacks, you're gonna feel some pretty strong sensation here. If you're pretty new to this kind of activation in the hamstrings, I don't want you to squeeze it so hard that your hamstrings cramp up on you. Ease into this pressure, ease into this engagement. So we want to focus primarily again on maintaining that good shoulder position, that little tuck of the pelvis the entire time we're squeezing those heels. So don't forget about the tuck while we're squeezing. Likewise, don't focus so hard on the tuck either that we forget to squeeze and we just end up holding the ball there. All right? So as a quick little recap again for you guys, I get set up, the ball rests or the towel rests or the pillow rests somewhere on my calves or my knees. I get my hands out so I'm in this nice knee plank position. I press the shoulders up so they're active, tuck my pelvis, maintain this engagement as I squeeze my heels to my glutes. Really working on maintaining that hollow, maintaining that engagement on the ball, and I'm going to hold that for 10 to 30 seconds. Now, if you kind of feel that engagement losing or kind of easing out, stop, just rest. You have 10 to 30 seconds of engagement that we're looking for in terms of the activation. Have fun with this one, you guys. Let me know how it goes. It's a tough little exercise, but it's a really helpful one for turning on those hamstrings and glutes. Quick little recap for our work set. We have a dynamic triangle for 3 to 5, windmill for 3 aside, plank to down dog 3 to 5, and then knee plank with that hamstring curl for 10 to 30 seconds. 1 to 2 rounds just to prime things up. We're going to come at you with a little bit more lower body work coming up next. All right, our next phase, we're going to start kind of stretching out into those hamstrings a bit. We're going to do an overhead good morning. So you can go in a squat stance or a sumo stance. I find the sumo stance is quite nice for this because we do a lot in that kind of narrower squat stance. So I'm going to go sumo, squeezing your glutes and setting those ribs and hips. I'm going to take my arms up overhead into that good overhead position that I can kind of maintain. And now as I pull my hips back, my knees soften, and I'm going to keep fighting for that good overhead position. Since I did those curls, that pull back into my hamstring, I can really feel that go, hey, there they are. So make sure you're listening to those hamstrings. We're only going to take them to about 45 degrees to 90 degrees at the most. We're not trying to put our hands on the floor or touch our chest to the floor. I want you to imagine that you're holding a bar on your shoulders or in your hands, a plate, and we're just trying to keep it nice and straight, nice and solid in that activation position. We stand tall, nice and slow. So we have 5 reps of that, again focusing on those hamstrings, that hinge, and that overhead position. From there, we're going to go into a sumo squat. Actually, I should say a series of squats. The first one is going to start with our sumo position. So my sumo squat stance, a little wider than a normal squat. My mechanics are the same though. So I'm going to squeeze my weights through my midfoot, my ribs are set. I'm going to push my knees out as I take my hips to my heels, focusing on that flat foot contact, focusing on that tall body position, and then stand tall. So I'm trying to stay as upright as I can, keeping that back in that good position, and really fighting for that flat foot contact as I work through that sumo squat at a 3-1-3 tempo. Right after that, I'm going to bring my feet in a little closer. I'm going to work on a regular squat stance. Same tempo, same mechanics. So my weight is through my midfoot, I squeeze and set. I don't have to push my knees out as much with my regular squat because my knees aren't going to collapse inwards as much as they would in a sumo squat. But we still need a little bit of activation out there to make sure that we're keeping those knees tracking the toes. So again, set, nice solid position, trying to stay as upright as I can. My weight is through my midfoot, and I'm allowing myself to explore the range that I can maintain the best position. After that, my feet are going to come inside that regular squat stance. And again, this can be anything in terms of any distance inside. It can be, just an inch in. It can be right together. And that could change day to day, hour to hour, week to week. So give yourself the dose of the narrow squat that you need today. Mine's going to go a little wider than normal today because my calves are super, super tight today. So that's going to limit my range of motion. But it's also going to give me a really nice stretch. So my feet are going to stay flat. My feet are going to or my weight is going to remain mid-foot, so where my laces are. I still set my glutes, I set my ribs, and I take my hips to my heels, keeping my body upright, working on that good position through my back, working on keeping my weight through my midfoot, and working on that slow tempo, that 3-1-3 tempo. So take your time, work to your range, and that's going to help really open up those ankles, our knees, and our hips for things to come today in our squatting. Now come with me over to the wall. We're going to talk about the wall sit. All right, the wall sit. We can use our wall. I'm going to set myself up here. My feet are going to be a little bit away from the wall so my knees stay over top of my heels. I'm going to slide down the wall like a nice squat, so my knees track the toes, my knees stay over top of my heels, and I'm going to take this to about parallel, so knee even with the hip, or just above parallel. So I'm really fighting to stay upright. I'm working on that good push out of the knee so my feet stay flat, and I'm working to a range that's challenging, but that doesn't cause me pain. I'm going to hold this position, keeping my ribs in, glutes tight, working on my hands being wherever they need to be, except on my thighs. And then to come out of it, I'm going to push and then come out. So my foot is about a foot's distance roughly away from the wall. So give or take a little bit, it's about a foot distance away. It really depends on kind of your limb length and all that kind of stuff. So find the position just so that that knee stays over top of the heel. We're holding this for 30 to 45 seconds. This is going to fire up those quads, and we want to make sure we're keeping those ribs engaged as well, so we keep that good core position stable and solid. Quick little recap on our work set today. Again, we have our overhead good morning for 5 reps. We have our sumo squat, our air squat, our narrow squat, 3 reps each at a 3-1-3 tempo, and then 1 stint of our 30 to 45 second wall sit. 1 to 2 times to get yourself fired up, get that body ready, and now let's go check out those movements for our work set. All right, so we have 4 movements we're going through today in our work set. We have our dumbbell squat, which can be a front squat or goblet squat. We have a bent row, which is a single arm bent row, and I'm going to show you a slightly different way to take this down today with a single dumbbell. We also have an elevated lunge or a lunge, right, with the dumbbell or unloaded, and we have our pullover with the dumbbell. So first things first, we have our dumbbell squat. The dumbbell squat, all the mechanics are going to be the exact same as our sumo, air, and narrow squat, except we're going to go with a regular squat stance. The goblet squat, we hold the dumbbell under the chin, keeping it close and pressing into that dumbbell as much as we need to keep that upper body kind of engaged. I set my glutes, I take it down, 3-second tempo, and then I stand nice and tall. So the up does not have to be slow, but the down is at 3-second tempo. From here, we have the front squat as well. So I clean it up, back of the dumbbell rests on the shoulder, I press into the dumbbell, same mechanics, hip to heel, keeping that body upright, working that slow tempo down, good stand. The only difference would be with the dumbbell and the front squat, what you can do is either do a full minute on the one side, or you can do 30 seconds, transition sides, 30 seconds. It's up to you. So however you want to take that down, you can work on the goblet, front squat. Just make sure we split up the work for the front squat throughout the rounds or the actual round. From there, we move into our bent row. And we've done bent rows on a bench, so resting our body on the bench. We've done them in a staggered stance. Today, I'm going to show you a nice option just in a good hinge. So standing tall with the dumbbell, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get that dumbbell just kind of to the side of the body. My feet are in my squat to hip width stance. I'm going to squeeze my glutes, set my ribs, and I'm going to hinge like I was going to do a deadlift. The only kicker is I'm going to let the dumbbell hang straight down from my shoulder. I'm using this hand to keep my body nice and square, and I'm going to pull that dumbbell into my low rib, elbow staying tight, and then come down. I pull back, come down. And what I'm doing here is pull, and then 3, 2, 1, eccentric. Pull, 3, 2, 1, eccentric. I'll stand tall, switch sides at 30, get that hinge again, using this hand to help stabilize and stay square, and again, repeat the process. So I work on that good row to that low rib, all right, keeping that elbow in nice and tight, and continuing with that good, solid 3-second eccentric. Now that gets really tiring, so I do suggest working on standing tall to switch hands, resetting that hinge as you do at that 30-second position, because that hinge can be extremely gassing as we move forward into our work set. From there, we move into our lunge. Our lunge can be elevated, so our elevated foot is the front foot on a plate. It can be non-elevated, and it can even be the standing lunge drill. It can be loaded or not. It depends on where you're comfortable with the lunge at this time. So the lunge mechanics stay the same, regardless of the foot being elevated or not. So I'm going to stand tall. My foot is going to be my base foot. It's either going to be on a surface that's about 2 to 4 inches high, and I'm going to step back into my lunge. So I get set, I step back, lower down 3 seconds, stand tall. And I'm going to stay on one side for 30 seconds, working on control, working on position, and then I'll switch sides. Same rules apply if my foot's not elevated. So if my foot's not elevated, I'll pick my favorite leg to start. I'll work 30 seconds on one side, 30 seconds on the other side. Now if you're doing the standing lunge drill, we're going to set up our stance to begin with. So we set up this position, kind of a 50-50 weight between the feet. I'm going to be standing nice and tall, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to lower. 3, 2, 1, stand tall. And I'm not going to take a step. I'm just going to have my stance already set perfectly for myself. 3, 2, 1, stand tall. Trying to keep that lead knee stacked over the heel, that back knee under the hip, under the shoulder. Now if I'm loading this, I can load this anywhere I'd like. So I can load it under the chin, I can load it in a suitcase, and I can load it in the front rack. So if you are doing front rack squats, I don't suggest doing front rack lunges, because that's going to gas out the front rack a little bit. So the goblet's not too bad if you're doing goblet, but if you're doing front rack, I would definitely do a goblet lunge or a suitcase lunge to change it up a little bit so that you're not gassing out that front rack position too much in the work set. So please find the lunge that suits you the best. I'll have some non-lunging options there as well in the bottom in the workout description, so check those out too. But we have 3 different variations of lunging: elevated, non-elevated, standing lunge drill, and any of those can be loaded or unloaded. It's up to you. So pick your lunge adventure, take it down. 30 seconds per side with that 3-second eccentric. Our last exercise of the day, we get to lay down. So we get to do our dumbbell pullover. I'm going to lay down with my feet flat, just like I was going to do a bridge. So my feet are flat, my fingers are just outside my heels, and I'm going to pull my ribs in so I have contact with the floor with my low back. I'm going to take the dumbbell up over the face with soft elbows. I'm going to keep that position, and I'm going to lower the dumbbell all the way to the floor, keeping my low back in contact with the floor, and then press with those arms coming straight up. So you'll notice the entire arm moves together. So I keep my arms long with a soft elbow, and then come back up. I'm not just bending at the elbows, doing a skull crusher or a tricep extension. My entire arm stays straight in this position, and then I'm moving from the shoulder. I'm keeping that nice and active through the arms. And what I like to think about is when I do these, I think pressing into the dumbbell, and that allows me to keep some good engagement on the dumbbell to make sure that I'm keeping it nice and steady. The lower is 3 seconds. The press can be a normal speed. And if you have a little bit more range of motion, you can hold the dumbbell by both bells. Still soft elbows, nice and strong here. I lower down with my arms, and then I come back up. That's just going to give you a little bit more range of motion through that shoulder. So only explore that if you're pretty comfortable with that movement. Otherwise, use the long variation of the dumbbell so it cuts down on range of motion. Now, quick recap on how this goes. You're going to cycle through each of these movements. Movement number 1, we do 60 seconds of dumbbell squats, front or goblet, at a 3-second eccentric, so that 3-second lower. You'll hit that for max quality reps, then you'll rest 30 seconds, then you'll do your dumbbell bent row for 60 seconds, but that's going to be 30 seconds on one side, 30 seconds on the other side, 3-second eccentric, so that 3-second lower. Once you've done both sides, 30 seconds rest. After that, you're going to choose your elevated, non-elevated, or standing lunge drill positioning, loaded or unloaded. You'll do one side for 30 seconds, one side for 30 seconds, again with that 3-second eccentric, rest 30 seconds, then you're going to move into your dumbbell pullover for 60 seconds with that 3-second eccentric, that 3-second lower press. And then once you're done that 60 seconds, you'll rest 30 and do it all over again. So you'll do that anywhere from 4 to 6 rounds. It's a fair amount of work, you guys. I want you guys to keep in mind, we're looking for quality movement today, keeping things tight, keeping things solid, and you can change your dumbbells out each round, or you can keep dumbbells the same throughout. Whatever you have access to at home, please make this yours. This is all about making this your adventure through your work set. So have fun today with this work set, you guys. It's a slightly different take on some strength work, but keep that idea in mind. We're looking for strength, not speed, and quality over reps for sure. All right, have a fantastic Thursday. We're gonna end out the week in these next 2 days with a little bit more higher heart rate, so be prepared for that. Use today as a chance to work that strength, that quality, and have a great time. Bye, you guys.